whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Good afternoon. Happy Election Day. I have not turned in my ballot yet, but if I did, I'd be wearing my sticker, which I do not have just yet. But please, people, it is an important day today. It is Election Day. And I know millions, tens of millions of people have already voted. And we will be talking about the elections throughout the day today. And then we shall wait for the anticipated delay in the results, which doesn't mean something nefarious is going on, people. It doesn't mean that at all. So we will touch a lot on politics and the races, not just here in California, but around the country. Also, already the conspiracies that are flying around. But please, the important thing is that you exercise your right to vote. Also, exercise those fingers. Please, right now, hit that thumbs up button. Hit it. Smash it, as the Mark Thompson Show loves to say. Hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the show. Also, the super chat. The super chat is live. And that is a way for you to be able to support our show each and every day. And we already, Andreas, man, I love you. You're excellent. You are a longtime viewer, listener, watcher to the Nikki Medoro Show. You're starting us off with $20 in the live chat. So thank you so much, Andreas. So the super chat is live. You can find it there. Also, go to my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. That is where you'll find links to the shows to share with your family and your friends, and also the link to our Patreon. Huge shout out every single day to our Patreon subscribers. I am committed to being here with you Monday through Friday from noon until 2, and the only way I can do that is through your guys' support. I really appreciate it. And of course, I always appreciate our founding and exclusive sponsor, Steve Moskowitz, who is joining us now. Steve, happy Election Day, my friend.
Happy Election Day. You know, a lot of people have fought and died for the right for us to walk in the poll and say, I don't like politician X, and I'll tell you all about it, and I do like politician Y. You know, all over the world, that's not the case. In North Korea, you don't go to the voting booth or a meaningful voting booth, and you do not criticize. For example, you know, in North Korea, it's actually a crime to put a newspaper on the floor. You say, well,
Jesus,
why
really?
would that be a crime?
Yeah.
Because there might be a picture of the great leader, and you might step on it. And if they catch you, they'll send you away to one of those camps.
He is quite sensitive, that guy. Yeah, no. Now, you don't want to forget to vote. Steve, you don't want to forget all kinds of things. Like, you don't want to forget to file your taxes, right? I'm sure that a lot of people are like, you know, I thought I could just ignore that piece of mail that kept coming to my house. And then finally they realize I have to call Steve.
Yeah, because if you ignore the piece of mail, an agent comes to your house, your place of business, your bank, your customers. And, you know, Nikki, a real common problem is people that forget to file tax returns. And here's the typical pattern. The first year they don't file it, usually because they didn't have the money to pay the taxes, although sometimes there's other reasons, like they got divorced, their spouse used to take care of things, or the person that did their tax return retired, or whatever, but they don't file it. Now year 2 comes around, and they say, well, how can they file year 2? Because they didn't file year 1, and they still don't have the money. And it becomes a lifestyle, a criminal-like lifestyle. And I've seen so many bad things happen to people because of that, and it doesn't have to be. And remember, eventually, it is a crime not to file a tax return. And on the civil side, the government does something called an SFR, substitute for return. They just make up a return. Oftentimes, it's a lot more than you really owe. And then they send the collector to go collect it. And remember, the IRS is hiring those new 87,000 IRS agents. And President Biden's already told them for every dollar he gives to the IRS. He expects multiple dollars being collected.
Mhm.
So what do? What happens if you don't have your records? We'll get all the records that the IRS and state has on you. We'll file all the returns that you need to file. And a lot of times people come in with multiple years, really very common. And then if you owe some money and you can't pay it, that's okay. We'll go and we'll make a deal for you, just like we talked about yesterday with different deals. And we'll talk about that in future shows too. And then you can have a normal life and sleep the sleep of the innocent.
That is so important, Steve. And I love that saying, because I know that people stay up at night worrying about something they don't have to worry about if they just give you a call. So give Steve a call. 888 Tax Deal or MoskowitzLLP.com. That's MoskowItzLLP.com. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk again
well
next
done,
hour.
Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one. So give him a call again, 888 Tax Deal or MoskowItzLLP.com. Loving everybody that's joining the chat room on this November 8th, Election Day. A lot of you braving the rain. John in the live chat, I'm heading out in storm conditions in Sacramento to drop my ballots off. It is a long ballot. I always love filling it out at home and then just walking in and dropping it in the mailbox. I think a lot of people like to do the same thing. There are some people that voted early. One person, who was it, David, happy election date, voted at 4 a.m. this morning. Well, good for you. I think whatever way you like to do it, just do it. Sticky Cola Bud, love ya. I voted by mail so I could stay home and get baked. You have the right idea, my friend. John, again, in the chat, right now there are forces in America that do not want us to vote. They want to allow heavily gerrymandered state legislatures to send presidential electors and possibly choose winners. Look, I know there's a lot of conspiracies, and we'll go through them throughout today's show, already swirling out there. But this is what gives me comfort, and hopefully it gives you a bit of comfort as well. They spend a lot of money to get out the vote. All those mailers that you get, all the text messages we've been inundated with. The reason why they do it is because our votes do matter. They want them. Now, they can put seeds of doubt or a whole garden of doubt in your mind, but that doesn't change the fact that it is up to the voters. So we have to do what we have to do. You have to get out there and vote. So we'll be talking about that throughout the day today. The DOJ keeping their eye on, I think, like 24 districts, including a couple in the state of California. It has been raining quite heavily. We had somebody, in the live chat talking about going out in the storm conditions in Sacramento. Oh my God, it was pouring. I'm not going to be able to make it rain because I was not in Altadena. I did not have that winning Powerball ticket. I do have a Mega Millions that I still have to check. I think is that today? I think the Mega Millions is today, but I have it in my wallet. Altadena in Southern California. I know Mark showed the picture. I love that it was sold at Joe's Service Center. Because it's one of those things where, who does that, right? You go, you try to find those winning locations that sell, the winning tickets like everybody else does. And then Joe's Service Center, they're the ones that sell it. I love lottery stories. We don't know, again, we know that somebody won in Southern California. I'm not quite sure if that's it, if that's the only winner, because that would be huge. But there's another lottery story that came out yesterday. There's a woman in Delaware. She claimed 2 6-figure lottery prizes in a single day. Now, this was back in October. And let's welcome Kim McAllister. Kim, I'm telling a lottery story because we did not win.
No, but somebody did.
In something. Now, do we know if it's only one person that won the Powerball?
We think it's one person in Altadena.
Yeah, Joe's Service Center.
Joe's Service Center in Altadena. Yeah.
Well, I was saying that, winning, it's a long shot, right? I mean, it's just, you never think it's going to happen, but you like to play because you like to dream. But there was this Delaware woman, won 2 6-figure lottery prizes in a single day. This was on October 20th. She's 70 years old. Okay.
Twice in one day?
Twice in one day. So she won a $100,000 prize from an instant game ticket she purchased in Newark, Delaware. About a week after realizing she had won the prize, she went to the lottery headquarters to pick up her winnings. It was the largest she's ever won, I'm sure. On her way home from picking up her winnings, she decided to try her luck again. She purchased 3, they're called serious money tickets. One of the tickets was a $300,000 top winner. And she says it was absolutely insane. She was with her best friend at the time. And she's like, they just stared at each other in disbelief. That's an experience I would just love to have. Oh my goodness.
I don't need the 2 billion. I'll take 300,000. That's perfect.
I'll take 100,000. You know what? I'll take $100, right? I mean, I'm not picky. I like to win. How about that? I do like to win. Unfortunately, we didn't win this time. I haven't checked our ticket, but I know when I was trying to do the app, because there's a California lottery app where you could just scan the ticket, it wasn't working this morning, so I'll have to redo it. I don't have the ticket next to me, but I know we didn't get all the numbers. So unfortunately, we're still working. So we depend on all of you to keep the lights on. And I really do appreciate everybody. Let's give some shout outs before we start talking about politics. Let's see. We have Camilla. Camilla's a $20 super sticker. Thank you so much. Also, Lynn with another for $49.99. Oh my goodness, Lynn. Thank you so much. And we have Stan, the CPA, with a super sticker for $10. You guys are awesome. Honestly, I really, really appreciate it. We'll continue to give shout outs for the super stickers. If you have something you want to say, you want to do it in the super chat, donate
make sure
for that.
You didn't miss this one. This is Andreas.
We did Andreas right at the beginning. Okay. Yes. And Andreas, we love you. We love all of you. Thank you so very much for supporting the show. You guys are awesome. Okay. So let's get into some politics. Okay. It is a day that is going to be ripe with conspiracy. We already know this. Former President Donald Trump laid the groundwork for this in 2020, where if we lose, something happened, it's fraud. If we win, of course, it's fine. According to Reuters and election cybersecurity officials, they have not seen any credible threats aimed at the country's voting machines or poll books. One official says, we see no specific or credible threat. Now, that does not mean that there will be, no delays, but there is no evidence at this point that there's any sort of interference. Now, as we know, election security has been a key issue after Russia. There was a Russian official just yesterday that was close to Putin that admitted, yep, we meddle. We completely meddle. But what they do is they kind of they use our vulnerability. They use our division against us. They prey on our conspiracy, and everybody out there that likes to push the conspiracy theories without evidence is part of the problem. You are undermining our democracy just as much as some foreign threat. 60 lawsuits over the last election, 60. And Trump appointed judges throughout every single one. No evidence. Nothing that can be backed up in court, which is our system of proving things in this country. And so it is up to us to not fall for it. But that's not going to stop states, right? That's not going to stop states from trying to do what they can. And some, secretaries of state are going to be facing a lot of questions. But you see this in Arizona. Thankfully, a judge blocked a rural Arizona county's plan to conduct a full hand count of ballots from the current election. It was a measure requested by Republican officials who expressed unfounded concerns that vote counting machines are untrustworthy. Pardon me. Let me repeat this again. Republicans in this Arizona county don't like the voting machines and want a hand count. And if the judge didn't block this from happening, guess what they would say? Why is the hand count taking so long? Excuse me.
It really is quite what Vilma has to say. I refuse to accept the outcome of the lottery if I didn't win, right? It's the same kind of thing. You question the integrity of the election before the results are even known. That way you lay the groundwork so that you can say, haha, I didn't win. There must be a problem.
Exactly. And thank you. I'm having a coughing attack because I'm so flustered by the whole damn thing. Republicans can't have it both ways. You can't say Dominion voting machines or whatever voting machines are being used are switching votes and then want a hand count. And then why is it taking so damn long? This isn't the way it always was done. Yes, it was. The difference is more people want to vote by mail. And when it votes by mail, different states have different rules on when they can actually start counting those ballots. So for instance, Florida, I think it's 7 days. They can start what they call, I think it's called pre-canvassing or something like that. And what does that mean? That means they take the mail-in ballots, they open up the envelopes, they lay them out flat, all of the kind of logistical type of things you have to do to count the ballots, they do ahead of time, checking the signatures, checking the addresses. That doesn't happen in every other state. Philadelphia, right? They want to make it even slower right now to count the ballots. And guess who will start complaining that it's taking too long? Republicans. Republicans want it both ways. They want to, plant that garden of doubt. I mean, they want acres of doubt because then every single race they lose, there must be something fraudulent going on. It's ridiculous. And we need to stop giving it any credence of truth. They need to either prove it. They need to prove it with evidence, not innuendo, not, I'll get you the evidence. You are making serious accusations about our democracy, our elections, the foundation of our democracy. You either have the evidence and prove it, or you shut the hell up, because they are as much of a threat to this country as anything else. According to the Washington Post, Republicans have already started to sue to disqualify thousands of mail-in ballots. And of course, these are the mail-in ballots in swing states, right? Because those are the only ones they seem to care about. In Pennsylvania, the state Supreme Court agreed with the Republican National Committee that election officials should not count ballots in which the voter neglected to put a date on the outer envelope, even if those ballots arrive before Election Day. We're talking thousands of ballots. Now, when I heard this story, I was pissed off, right? I was like, oh, come on. Obviously, they're there on time. You have them. You have these ballots. Then there's the other part of me that gets mad at the person filling out the ballot. And I'm going to be completely honest. The bar isn't that freaking high. And understanding the nonsense that's going to come from some members of the GOP, some Republican states, some former presidential candidates. Write the date. Do the signature. Make sure it's right. Because this is the nonsense that's going to just suck the air out of all of the results that we come to get in the coming days. And so it aggravates me to no end when stuff like this happens. If it says you need a date, put the date on it. If it says it needs your signature, you need the signature. You guys need to follow the rules to the T, because there are people out there that will exploit innocent mistakes. K Wayne 68 chatted in, I think every Dem who lost to a stolen election supporter, seditious Republican in 2020 should have filed suit in court against their election results based upon their GOP opponent claiming fraud. Yeah, it's such an interesting claim, right? It's fraud only in these specific races. We know it's nonsense. We know it's complete BS. Eric Kennedy, there's virtually no voter fraud. It's election fraud and voter suppression we need to worry about. Yeah, I mean, election fraud, voter suppression we need to worry about. Making it difficult to cast your vote in some of these states, Georgia and other places. We know what's being done. Lillian Fredrickson chats in. Hopefully, they are Herschel Walker voters, not a bright bunch. I love that you chatted that in. I love that comment because it's interesting, not only the areas in which they want to throw out ballots, which are largely Democratic, but just the rules that you need to play by, thinking that it's only going to be a certain type of voter whose ballots you're throwing out. That's quite the gamble. Now, if it's in a largely blue area, I'm sure that gamble is worth it to some. But they seem to be really confident that, for instance, with the dates not on the ballot, that is only that the ballots they're throwing out aren't Republican votes. I mean, that is quite the gamble to make.
I think it's a lot of studies have shown that early voters are often Democratic voters. So the people who get those mail-in ballots in early are often the ones that they're trying to throw out.
Yeah.
As if you're a Republican trying to get those votes not counted. So you could be throwing some of your own votes out, but by a majority, usually it's the Democratic voters who get their votes in first.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, that was put in a timeout. There was an article, according to Nick from Salon, discussing the long history of the GOP crying voter fraud going back to the 60s. Yeah, this isn't a new thing. I do think with the growing popularity, and then of course with COVID, with the mail-in ballots being, largely universal across the country, it just gave the GOP another excuse, right? It gives them another thing to point to, be like, that's why we lost, because they're cheating. Not that the merits of your party, your stance on the issue could convince voters, because that's what I would want for my country. If I was running as a party or as a candidate, I'd want my ideas to win. Not that I have to cheat and claim fraud in order to get elected or to get something passed. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, again, in Philadelphia, there's a decision that will make it longer to tabulate the ballots. These delays, of course, they say it will be exploited by the GOP, by Trump and his allies, to make false fraud claims. So again, to remind you, it is Republicans who are using the courts to make decisions to slow down the vote. We want a hand count, and then we'll claim it's taking too long, so there must be fraud going on. They need to be called out when they make these claims immediately. Like, this could have been more streamlined. You could have changed the rules before, but you couldn't get it together, Philadelphia. You couldn't get it together in time to do something like that Florida's doing, where they can pre-canvass, where you could start the process a couple of days before. No. You can't start. I don't think they could start until 7 o'clock this morning on doing all of that. So of course it's going to take a long time. Of course it's going to be. So here's a question. Do you think, to counter all of this, Democrats should start moving away from mail-in balloting and going into the booth on Election Day? Because Republicans are banking on Democrats loving those mail-in ballots, which I do. I'm a permanent mail-in voter. But what if we did? What if we went in on Election Day and voted? I mean, the lines would be ridiculous. We'd have to give a heads up to poll workers and polling places, or they'd be inundated, and that would be a type of voter suppression, a self-inflicted, if the Democrats were doing it. Karen Cooper, why are Democrats so silent on what Republicans are doing? Are they waiting for them to implode? It's not working. I don't think they are quiet, Karen. I just think that we're just not loud enough, if that makes sense. That it's easier to get people riled up about conspiracies that they'll continue to spread and do the work for these GOP members. Go ahead.
There was some type of testimony at the January 6th committee hearing where someone, I believe, quoted Giuliani in a phone call saying, all we need is, we don't need you to change the votes. All we need to do is the hint of, that there's something wrong. All we need to do is confuse the process. That's all. Yeah. So if you can delay it by 2 days, that's all we need is the hint that something's wrong. And then we can kind of exploit that. And
exactly.
And it's all over. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, if they can get the courts, if they can get, secretaries of states in there, I mean, what is it? I mean, there are so many people on the ballot in this election across the country that are election deniers, that believe there was election fraud without evidence. That's the thing that boggles my mind about the fact that we're still talking about the last election, is that they were able to go through the process and were not able to prove it.
Even in this election, you've got, is it Carrie Lake?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Arizona, I can't stand her.
Who already said, was asked pointedly, if you show election results or show that you're the loser in this race, will you accept it?
I'm going to win the race. Yeah.
I'm going to win. Never once said, I will accept the will of the people.
No.
Whatever the results show, I will support my challenger if that's the case. I mean, why isn't that the accepted answer?
Because they're allowed to say the opposite. They're allowed to, without evidence, say, we're going to keep an eye. It's going to be a fair election. It's only fair to them if they win. Well, and that's ridiculous. You can't believe that you're always going to win.
I think the old, kind of thing was, you never talk about losing, especially before the race. You never, you always say, well, I'm going to be the winner. And so someone says, what happens if you lose? You never even address that. But maybe given everything that's happened, the new responsible way is to address it. The new responsible thing to say is to say, yes, whatever the people decide, whatever the Americans decide, because that is the American way, I will abide by that. Maybe that's the new phrase we need to hear.
Yeah, but it needs to be applauded. That mindset, that message, I should say, needs to be supported by voters. Because if people say that, then they're like, you're weak. And that's coming from the Republican side. I mean, go ahead. Show me Democrats that are saying the same nonsense that Republicans are. They're not. They're saying, get out to vote. Exercise, your right to vote, democracy, all those sorts of things. What are Republicans saying? There's fraud if we lose. They're sore losers. They're the sore loser party, and they haven't even lost yet. And it makes my blood boil. It really does. I was driving this morning, there's signs all over the place for this candidate and that issue. And there's this one lonely sign. I think it's, if you guys know the area in San Jose, I think it's right by the 87 on-ramp on by Capitol Expressway by the Auto Mall. And it's all vote today and vote Republican or some sort of nonsense. And you can. I mean, I know there's Republicans, and I'm not saying if you want to vote Republican, you of course can. But it gets me so upset what the Republican Party has become that I can't even respect people that may have conservative values, because this is what you're allowing your party to devolve into. I mean, if there was just more Liz Cheney's out there, if there were people that were like, yeah, that's some nonsense. I'm not voting for anybody that doesn't believe the last election. There was no evidence of that, but I believe in this issue and that issue. Okay, I'll have a little respect for you there. But those people that are like, no, election fraud, it was stolen, blah, blah, blah. You've lost all of my respect. You really have, because you are the problem with what's going on in our country nowadays. So we'll continue this. We're going to take a quick break for news. We'll talk a little bit about some of the races we need to watch here in California, because, of course, some of these races could determine control of the House. Now, there's hope, of course, that we won't lose the Senate. What is it, 5 seats and we lose the House? I think that's the number that it could be. And that's serious. I mean, they're going to start investigations. They're going to it's going to be nonsense. Student loan forgiveness, everything is on the table. And then, of course, is Biden going to run in 2024? It's going to be full steam ahead on that conversation. Also coming up in the next half hour, we'll add some other things. We'll talk about a little science news for all of you contact lens wearers. And then SATs. Can you imagine having to take it again because of a traffic accident? I'll explain that also coming up. Plus, of course, hit that thumbs up button right now. It helps our show. There's something with YouTube that makes it awesome. So smash that that thumbs up right below your screen right now. And here is Kim with some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. More than 45 million early ballots have already been cast in the midterm elections, that according to multiple sources, including Edison Research, which looked at data from 47 states. Texas leading the way with about 5.5 million ballots cast. Voters across the country taking a closer look at plenty of important ballot measures at the polls today. In California, Michigan, Vermont, Kentucky, and Montana, there are proposals that would either limit access to abortion or establish it as a right. Alabama, Louisiana, Vermont, Oregon, and Tennessee have initiatives that would remove language in their constitutions that still allow some form of slavery. The House January 6th committee interviewing former President Trump's driver on the day of the Capitol riot. CNN reporting the panel has been interviewing more Secret Service agents and White House security officials. The driver's name has not yet been revealed. A mother of two from California accused of lying to investigators about faking her own kidnapping, surrendering to go to jail today. Sherry Papini was missing in 2016 for almost a month before she was found along I-5 covered in self-inflicted wounds. She was sentenced in September, will serve more than 18 months after pleading guilty to one count of lying to a federal law enforcement officer and one count of mail fraud for accepting victim assistance checks through the mail. Actor Leslie Phillips is dead at the age of 98. The British star voiced the Sorting Hat in the Harry Potter movies and appeared in the Carry On movie franchise. His agent said he passed away peacefully in his sleep. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can catch him online, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL or MOSKOWITZLLP. Okay, so we will, of course, continue to follow. Tomorrow, we do have Emily Hoven with Cal Matters on. We'll go over some of the results that we do know. We're not going to know everything. Just get over it, people. And I'm not talking to my listeners and my viewers. I know you guys know this. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know anybody that really believes that every single race will be known the night of an election night or the next day. It's just not, there's no basis in reality for that. Now, here in California, polls close at 8, so keep that in mind. Now you can obviously mail in your ballots. You can go into the polling places if there's one near you. Now the date, counties have 29 days after the election to send results to the state. So that's important. The official certified results of the election will be available to us by December 16th on the Secretary of State's website. So yeah, a little more than a month to know the final results of California's general election. Is it because we're this instant culture nowadays that maybe our ability to wait for results is eroded over the years?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it that?
Or gotta have it now culture.
And I understand wanting to know, but just because we don't know doesn't mean that there is something wrong. Doesn't mean that, you know, the voting machines are messing up or somebody's switching ballots or dropping ballots off. It doesn't make any sense. Their conspiracies make zero sense. Now, there are some California races that could determine control of the House. The main battlegrounds are Orange County. Of course, that's south of Los Angeles. Now, it was once a Republican stronghold. According to the Associated Press, it's become increasingly diverse and Democratic. Another battleground is the Central Valley, which is not surprising. It's sometimes called the nation's salad bowl, of course, because all of our agriculture is done there. And again, the Department of Justice is monitoring 64 jurisdictions in 24 states. And on that list, LA County and Sonoma County. So they're going to be out there and they're going to, make sure that they're in compliance with federal voting rights laws. So let's see, the Civil Rights Division has monitored elections since 1965, since the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Monitors include those working in the Civil Rights Division and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They'll be taking complaints from the public over voting right law violations. And any reports of violence, threats of violence, or intimidation should be reported to local authorities. Now, I haven't seen, Kim, I don't know if you've seen any reports so far of, I mean, I saw a picture of Newsom and his wife voting this morning, but I haven't seen anything, at least in other states so far, of any sort of voter intimidation.
No voter intimidation, just 2 issues so far. In Philadelphia, there were some voting machines that weren't working properly. And I believe in Arizona, there was some type of issue with improperly printed ballots.
Yeah. So, I mean, but these things have happened in the past. It's just now they're being blown into something huge. Let's see. In California, county results will arrive early. In Sacramento, they usually come around 8:15. But any of the close races, we're just not going to know any of those things here in California or across the state. And like I mentioned, different states have different rules on how soon they begin dealing with all of those mail-in ballots. In Wisconsin, Republicans won a court ruling that will prevent some mail ballots from being counted when the required witness address is not complete. Again, that falls under my umbrella of they're going to exploit it. Don't give them any sort of ammunition. Maybe we need a public service campaign across the country of just this exact message. There are going to be people that are going to exploit your mistakes. So check and double check that you have followed every single rule, because if the rules state you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you don't only do X and Y, whose fault is that? And it sucks that that's the way it is, where it's like, oh, you forgot the date, but obviously it's fine. It's here before Election Day. I would wish that that was enough, that we use common sense as we move forward with something as important as an election. But that's not where we are in 2022. Where we are is where people are being idiots. Harry, here in Arizona, 60% of the precincts have at least one tabulator machine out of order. Okay. So, Harry, what does that mean? So what's happening? What are you hearing happening? Okay. So there's one tabulator machine out of order. I'm assuming there's another tabulator machine. It's just going to take a longer time, right? Things break down. See, I'm trying to just be reasonable about the whole thing. Things break down. Things get jammed. Does it all of a sudden have to be some sort of conspiracy going on? Is that what it is? I don't see why we automatically have to jump to something ridiculous. Why can't it just be that something broke down? Because things break down. Yeah, problems with some Arizona voting machines are already stoking right-wing conspiracy theories. If it's the right wingers, it's the GOP that are so concerned about this, it's because they're shaking in their boots that their candidate sucks, or they don't have actual, stance on the issues that's going to convince voters to vote for them. If you believed in your party's message, not conspiracy, but true message of what they were going to do for your state or your county or your country, run on that. Don't run on conspiracy just to hedge your bets, just in case you lose.
Could it be that the tabulating machines have an issue? If what is it? Roughly 40 of 223 locations, so 20% of voting centers are having problems with the voting tabulating machines, then maybe there's something wrong with the machine. It doesn't necessarily beg the conspiracy theory,
Right.
I don't
Exactly.
understand. It's not like 1 or 2. It's like, okay, well, we got a problem here. Looks like a common issue, clearly, because a lot of machines are affected. So what's the workaround? How do we make sure everyone's vote is counted? Not like, oh, see, look at those machines. They're stealing our votes.
Exactly. And the answer to that, of course, and we'll say, okay, we'll count them by hand, which takes time. So then don't also say, well, it's taking too much time, so there's something nefarious happening. No, that's not sane. I mean, we're a huge country. We're doing this. I mean, maybe it should be election week, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what mail-in balloting is. It just seems, oh, here we go. Harry says the tabulators have an alignment issue. It's a tech issue. And the machines aren't working because people don't draw within the lines or the circle within the circle. Yeah. I mean, I thought we got through this in kindergarten, but stay within the lines because we're people. We're humans. Some of us have shaky hands. Some of us, X instead of circle or bubble it in. It's so frustrating that we just can't take things at face value, that there has to be a conspiracy going on. I'm so done with the GOP. I really am. I'm so done with people having to point out lies as the reason why they lost. If they lose, because if they win, we already know that nothing bad happened. All right, we'll talk more about Election Day. Just make sure you get out and vote. I mean, I do care how you vote. I know we have Proposition 1 here in California that would, enshrine in our state constitution our reproductive rights. There's a number of issues that I truly care about. But you vote the way you want. Okay? Vote the way you want, but just vote. It's important. It's very important. I'm not telling you to do, some fake conspiracy nonsense. I'm just telling you to vote your conscience. Speaking of, test taking, bubbling in things, bubbling it properly with your ballot. But then there's this story. Where was this out of? Texas, figures. More than 50 students in Texas might need to break out that number 2 pencil and retake their SAT exam.
Oh, this is the worst.
I remember taking the SAT. I only took it once because I could give 2 rats butts about it. It was just one of those things where I never stressed about taking the SAT. I don't know why. Maybe back in the mid 90s when I was taking it, there wasn't as much pressure, or I just knew I wasn't aspiring to some Ivy League college or anything like that. But apparently these students' tests flew out of a UPS truck that was carrying them. Apparently the tests were either lost or destroyed as they flew out. The school district said it managed to recover all but 55 tests, and students who took the exam were affected. That was at El Paso High School. I would not want to take it again. Imagine taking it, feeling like you aced it, and then having to take it again and feel like you didn't. Right? I mean, because they cram. They cram for those tests so much. So I don't know how, I'm looking at this article. I'm trying to figure out, how do they just fly out? I know those UPS trucks, sometimes they don't have doors or they leave the doors open. You know what I'm saying? But how the hell did all of those tests
They saw the
out?
Scantrons blowing down the side of the road. Blowing papers, blowing in the yep. There goes my SAT test.
Like,
bye-bye.
Sorry. Well, it's not just UPS that's apologizing. There's a Massachusetts hotel that is apologizing. Now, we reported this. Was it last week? Yeah, it had to have been last week since it's only Tuesday. Last week, Taylor Swift announced her tour, right? All of her tour dates. She actually announced another round of tours. So Levi's is getting 2 concerts. People are really excited about this. Her fans, her Swiftie fans, they put her the top 10 was every single song of the top 10 was a Taylor Swift song. So her fans are rabid. Well, apparently, if you are a hotel near a concert venue that is going to be having Taylor Swift's concert there, you're going to make a pretty penny. Well, a Massachusetts hotel was really awful. Once they heard that Taylor Swift was going to be near their hotel, they canceled a block of rooms for a bride's wedding that happened to be at the same time as the concert. So apparently the woman was getting married at a venue near the Home to Suites by Hilton, which is near Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. So the hotel calls her up and says, sorry, we have to cancel the rooms. And she says, but we have an agreement. And she's like, does our agreement mean nothing? That's what it's for. She booked 10 rooms. Okay, so here's it. She booked 10 rooms for $169 a night. The hotel says, yeah, but we can get $1,000 a night for the nights of Taylor Swift's concert.
Don't you think that's bad business, though?
It's also breaking a contract.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Apparently, the hotel's manager, even though he emailed her and said, we're all good, you're all set, he never actually signed the final page of the contract. They offered to book another block of rooms at a hotel 18 miles away. Okay, which is not convenient at all. But then the news broke about the whole thing, and they have since apologized. This actually happened to me when my husband and I were mulling over the idea of going to the inauguration of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, because obviously first female vice president. Just wanted to see what it would be like. So the day that they finally announced that Biden had won, I hop on Airbnb and I found a place so close to where the inauguration was happening for a really good price. So I booked it just in case. I'm like, I could cancel it if I wanted to. No sooner had I done it and they accepted it, like the next day, the owner or whatever of the property reached out to me. They're like, we really have to cancel this.
What?
Our livelihood is based on it. We can get so much more money for the inauguration, blah, blah, blah.
No.
We'll give you your money back. Now,
No.
in my mind, I'm like, I'm probably not going to use it anyway, but I refused to answer. Like, I was kind of upset that they would even make me make this decision. Like, you already agreed. You accepted it. Obviously, they weren't paying any attention to the news because they should have known that this was the inauguration or the date or whatever. And so I had Airbnb reaching out to me. I mean, the owner was contacting me so many times. And finally I wrote back and I was like, look, you're not making it worth my while. I booked it. You're just offering me a full refund. What the hell is that? And so I ended up getting a credit for a future Airbnb, which I still think was a bit of BS. But I knew at that point we had decided we were not going to go. COVID and the time off and everything like that, it was just not going to work out. But
I think that's really bad business. I mean,
it is.
I would never want to book that place again. And I think anybody who is looking at getting married should avoid the Massachusetts Hilton Hotel.
Oh, absolutely.
Clearly they put a price out into the world. They advertise something and then they can turn around and say, nope, we gave you this deal, but we're not going to honor it because we want more money from other people. That's not cool.
It's not cool. And I understand, if you are a business and you know where your, let's say, hotel is located, I mean, you should have your eyes constantly on events that are happening near your place of business. If I owned an Airbnb, I would know that, right?
Yeah. Especially if you when the inauguration is. That was no secret, right? As far as your situations, you got to be quicker on the uptake.
Exactly. I mean, you should see this coming. Someone's getting inaugurated. My place is near where they're going to have the inauguration. I would have that on my phone instantly. I'm going to make sure that these dates, let's say all of January, right? I'm just going to raise the rates in all of January just to hedge my bets. But, there's an idiot born every single minute. I wanted to read a couple of messages that are coming in the chat room. Eric writes, definitely need election day to be a national holiday, but that won't happen because more people might vote and the GOP doesn't want that. I love that you wrote that in, because isn't that always the thing? It seems Republicans don't want to make it easier to vote. They want to make it harder to vote. Now, why would you want it to be harder to vote? Because you don't think you're going to get enough people to vote for you. Now, I can already hear conservatives yelling, you just want illegal immigrants to vote. That's why you don't want to stop them from coming into our country. BS. I was going to say the S word, but I didn't. That's not true. And you're also making a huge assumption about how certain people from certain parts of the world or country are going to vote. Now, why would they want to do that, you ask? Maybe because Democrats run the country better. Maybe they just run the country better. Go ahead. Look at the GDP under Democrat versus Republican leadership. Go ahead. Google it. Do it. The economy runs better under Democrats. I know we're dealing with inflation, and it is literally, which surprises me, inflation is the top issue over preserving our democracy for voters. It boggles my mind. If we don't have a democracy, what the hell does anything else matter? I don't understand it at all. Let's see. K Wayne 68, paper shortages for ballots in Pennsylvania. Why does that not surprise me? You know, these headlines, I don't get it. Did we not know that the election was coming? Can we not make sure that we have enough paper ballots? Paper ballot shortage prompts request to extend voting hours. What is that? Luzerne County?
Yeah.
I guess it's just a guess of how many ballots you're going to need. But how about one for every registered voter? Let's start there, right? I mean, how about that? I know it costs money to print those ballots, but let's do most of that. Shall we?
You know what you need? You know what they need there in Luzerne County? They need the room moms in charge. You know, the room mom doesn't show up without enough juice boxes for every kid.
She always has an extra.
Put the room mom in charge of the ballots, because please, paper ballot shortage, really, on election day.
Watchman Ezekiel 33. Like Stacey Abrams in 2016 accepted her defeat. I love when people bring up Stacey Abrams. Or the Dems saying Trump won because of a conspiracy with Russia. Now, let's break down both of these statements. Stacey Abrams is not governor. And the reason why that people bring her up is because she does believe that there was voter suppression. You're running against Brian Kemp, who was the Secretary of State, right? I mean, the amount of power that Brian Kemp had in that election was ridiculous. And there was voter suppression that she pointed out. But did she urge people not to vote? Did she say that there was machine switching ballots? No, she never said that. Now, as far as the Dems saying Trump won because of a conspiracy with Russia, now Trump acted guilty with the whole Russia thing, and Robert Mueller could not say the accusations against or indict a sitting president, right? That was a whole thing with the Mueller report. But Russia has admitted using social media and campaigns to manipulate people. That did happen. I bet you, Watchman Ezekiel 33, if you're a Trumper, that you probably helped spread misinformation without any basis in fact. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the links that all of us clicked on during that election were either from Russia or an offshoot of a misinformation campaign that was funded by them. I mean, that's how easy it was. The amount of money that it was found on Facebook campaigns that Russia spent was minuscule. And the amount of damage it did was huge, immeasurable on how much damage it did to our democracy. And Russia is sitting over there and laughing at us. Putin is laughing at us because we still haven't been able to get it together. And that's the sad part. And it's frightening. It's absolutely frightening. Oh, we have someone talking about the SAT. If you're just joining us, I mentioned that dozens of kids in Texas have to retake their SAT because they flew out of a UPS truck. John, my girlfriend's kid is preparing for the SAT now. He has dreams of going to Harvard, MIT, etc. They hire consultants to help them prepare. Back when I did it, I didn't hardly even know about it. Yeah, I didn't study for it. I figured I always came at things like the SAT with this attitude. They want to know if I know it. So let's see if I know it. And that was it. It's like, let's see if whatever education I had is sticking in my brain to be poured out on this Scantron. And if not, then not. It wasn't anything that I stressed too much about. Anonymous. I was fortunate to get a scholarship, quote unquote, to attend the high school's SAT prep session. 5 days, 3 hours a day. Jeez. Shame that SAT prep wasn't available as default for all students. I do believe, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I can Google it while Kim does her news at the top. I don't know if it's Khan Academy, but I do believe that there are free SAT prep courses now for students that want to do it online.
But are they as good? I mean, are they, these
tried and
true programs? I don't mean, some
is it better than nothing?
No prep. Yeah.
Exactly. John, these days some kids spend all year preparing for the SAT. And why would they do that? Because we have instilled in them that you need to get a high SAT score so that you can go to this college and possibly straddled with debt. I mean, it's the message that these kids are getting about the importance of this one test. Nick in the chat, SATs should be submitted electronically to avoid issues like this. That's a good idea. Or just do it right at the building where they're taking. Harry lost, destroyed, or sold to the next SAT taker.
No.
Ooh, that's a nice conspiracy. There you go. But I mean, I don't think the test day is exactly the same, JR. The answers were a blowing in the wind. Absolutely. Yeah, Anonymous says Khan Academy wasn't around a decade ago. Exactly. But I think it is now. So I don't think you need to shell out, and you can, big bucks for SAT prep. I think you can find it online. Aren't colleges moving away from SATs? Yeah, I think a lot of them have been, right? But some of it is you don't have to do it. You don't have to submit it. But then I'm sure there's people that are saying, well,
So UC and state colleges here in California will no longer even accept them.
oh, they
But
won't even accept them anymore.
no,
Okay.
they don't use it as an admission criteria. They won't even look at it. But private colleges will, and colleges in other states do as well. So if you wanted to apply to Stanford or, I don't know, Pepperdine or Santa Clara University, whatever, University of Santa Clara, University of San Francisco, it's a whole
Right.
different ballgame when you want to apply to a private college.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and again, you're naming colleges that people really, really, really want to go to. And that's a shame because there are other schools out there. If you want to go to college, if you want to get a degree in order to show on your resume that you have a degree in X, Y, and Z subject, you can go to college and you could probably afford it out of pocket. But you have to get out of your mind that you have to go to some really Ivy League expensive college to get it done. And Anonymous says again, middle school, high school, every teacher except one indoctrinated us that high scores and high earning careers were required, or else you'd not be successful. South Bay area school districts. I'm assuming that's where you're from. Yeah. And it's not true. You don't need it. I'm not saying it's going to hurt you. You know, and if you, I promote college to my kids. Absolutely. I want them to go to college. I want them to continue their education. I want them to have the experience. I want them to try different classes that they can't take in high school or aren't offered. I want that for my kids. But I'm not going to do that and sacrifice their future because you have to go to this really expensive brand name college. No. Let's see. Some old airport, this is from SF Tesla, down the South Bay, lost electricity last weekend. San Jose Airport rated fastest airport Wi-Fi in the U.S. Okay. I'm not quite sure, SF Tesla, why you're telling us about that, but I thought it was about something else. Nick, some believe the SATs favor more affluent students, thus making them discriminatory against poorer ones. Yeah, I mean, some people have said the SAT is racist because of how the questions are framed and those sorts of things. I think you could find stories about that all over the place. Okay, let's take a quick break for news. We'll touch on Election Day again after the top of the hour news. I'll show you some celebrity endorsements for things like mayor down in LA, the mayor's race, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi maybe having second thoughts about whether or not she wants to continue in her leadership role. And this, of course, following the attack on her husband. Again, top issues, inflation. I wasn't able to get to the story yesterday, but there are some grocery stores that are fighting back against inflation. So I'll tell you which ones those are because everybody's trying to save a buck. That's all coming up right after news with Kim McAllister.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Voters are most concerned about the economy going into today's midterm election. The latest Gallup poll reports 49% of registered voters said the economy will be extremely important in their vote today. Voters in several parts of the country dealing with problems on Election Day. In Arizona, a few dozen voting centers in the state's largest county are having issues with the machines that count the ballots. But officials in Maricopa County, home to Phoenix, said it doesn't mean there's fraud and that everyone can vote in key races like the ones for governor and U.S. Senate. Across the country in Philadelphia, one election official telling CNN various issues like incorrect information could lead to some ballots not being counted. The individual saying nearly 3,600 mail-in ballots could be rejected. The Commonwealth has a closely watched Senate race. And former President Trump is teasing what he calls a big announcement next week. While campaigning for Republicans in Ohio yesterday, Trump said he will deliver the news at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida November 15th, 1 week from today. And it is widely expected that he'll be announcing a 2024 White House run. Job cuts at Bay Area tech and biotech firms will likely affect more than just those people losing their jobs. The layoffs could shake things up in the local economy as well. Restaurants, hotels, retail stores count on the nearby companies for their own businesses and sales. Twitter, Meta, and several other notable companies are cutting jobs back, including Oracle, Lyft, and Stripe. Close to 3,000 Bay Area residents could soon be out of work. Twitter will be delisted from the New York Stock Exchange today. This coming after Elon Musk officially finished his takeover of the social media platform. It was his plan from the beginning to take that company private. And Alanis Morissette says she has no time for an environment that reduces women after skipping a performance at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Los Angeles Saturday. In an Instagram story, the You Oughta Know singer said she's tolerated an industry that's rife with an overarching anti-woman sentiment for decades, but she's at a point in her career, she says, where that's not necessary. Billboard previously reported Morissette would perform Carly Simon's You're So Vain with Olivia Rodrigo at that ceremony. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, you can call Steve at 888-TAX-STEAL or get him online, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show. I believe you're muted, my friend.
Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you, Kim McAllister, for teaching me how the microphone works. Hour 2 of the show, we will touch on Election Day. I don't have my sticker on. Kim McAllister, I can't see you. Did you turn in your ballot yet?
I have not turned it in yet. I still have to go down to the polling place and deposit it. Yes.
Did it come with a sticker?
It did.
It did. Okay, so did mine. I didn't put it on yet because I haven't turned it in yet. And that's what I do. I put in my ballot and then I put my sticker on so that I could walk around with a halo over my head. I voted. Go out and vote. Also, hit that thumbs up button right now. Please, please, please hit the thumbs up. I would really, really appreciate it. It really does something and shares our show with other people on YouTube. If you can support the show financially, either through the super chat, which is live right now, and you just had someone up. I apologize. I covered it. Kanye was 68 with a $9.99 super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Nikki, hope you and Mark do a vote night show in 2024. Okay. Okay. And $1.99 for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, the super chat is live. You can donate there. We do super stickers. I think there's a couple that I may have forgotten. I don't know if we did, but I'll just announce it again. Kevin Hobbs with $20. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then our dog walker, Jim Slayton with $4.99. I appreciate you as well. So if you want your chat read, please just donate it and it'll get pinned to the very top. Stan Pollock, the CPA, with that $10 super sticker earlier. Awesome. And if you want to be one of our Patreon supporters, you can go to my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. Not only will you find links to my YouTube channel and some of our past shows to share with your friends and family, you will also find a link to our Patreon. And all of our Patreon subscribers, we cannot do this without you. We just can't. We want to continue doing the show Monday through Friday. Yes, thank you. We want to make this consistent. And after Station X went away, we're feeling it right now. Who's not feeling it? Especially right now, where there is no progressive counter to the conservative nonsense out there. And it chaps my hide that we don't have the station. And
what does it do, Nikki?
It chaps my hide.
Oh, yeah.
It just it gets me upset that we now this year oh God, I still can't believe that it happened. So to everyone that is supporting our show, Mark Thompson show, we really do appreciate it, because we need to fight back against this GOP nonsense. I am sorry, but we do. Yes. Row, row, row your vote. I know that the abortion issue, and I was listening to Mark's conversation with John Rothman this morning, and it was awesome to hear his voice. But I love when John said, I'm not saying abortion, reproductive rights.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the issues that are most important to voters, and people say things like inflation and even preserving democracy, the fact that people put inflation over control over your own body blows my mind. If you are abdicating, if you are giving away control over this decisions of your own body over the price of gas or groceries, I just don't understand why that's a fair trade. I'm going to cough. Kim Gallagher cough.
No, it's okay. It's interesting. Nikki was talking earlier about people not accepting results today. And we got a great chat from Meredith Dannenberg, who writes in, how can someone run for office when they won't accept the results unless they can win? We can't go through this again. And it's something I wanted to talk to Nikki about as she coughs up half a lung over there. You all right, sister? Give me a thumb. 911. You're okay?
I think I'm okay.
I wake up this morning and my husband is sitting in a little chair across from me. He works remotely, so he's doing his work, and I love waking up and the first thing I see is him in his little chair. But he said, "Oh, good morning. Today's the day that democracy dies." And I thought,
"Oh no.
Oh, that's a negative stance to look at that. Is that what we think? Is today the day that democracy dies? But look at what Meredith has to say. Yes, how can someone run for office when they won't accept the results? And that's why people are feeling so shaken that this is the day that we're going to see it again. It was bad enough when it happened in the last presidential election. But now if we see these dominoes falling across America with candidates in other races also not accepting the result of the election outcomes, is this the day that we see that democracy falls? Is this the day that we see democracy die?
What is the answer to that?
Yeah.
What is the answer, though, to that? I mean, do we require candidates to sign an affidavit that says you're not going to contest the results of the election? I mean,
I think, yeah.
Logistically, how do we do this? I think that if you're going to run for office, Meredith is right. You should be able to stand there and be like, look, I know it might take time to get results. I know there might be people that will protest, but we vote on election day, and the results that come in, we can check and double check because we have a process for that. But after that, I will accept it. And if I still have it in me, I'll run again if I lose. That's how you are an adult running for elections.
And I think it's fine if you are questioning the election result as a candidate to do what you were just mentioning, which is go through the process, which is file a complaint to say I need a recount, or file a court case that says I feel like, this needs to be looked into, or this thing happened that was wrong, whatever it may be. But even before the election and after the election, to stand up and cast doubt for the will of the people. We can see through it now. I believe
I hope so.
Can see through it, and we can see what you're doing. But didn't we see? And I don't know how much difference it makes, even if we can see through it, because I think we all knew when former President Trump was saying, even before the presidential election, if I don't win, something hinky happened.
Exactly.
If I don't win, something's wrong. It was a election mishap, and kind of, I don't know. I feel like you can see it coming, and then you believe what you want to believe based on who who your candidate is. We have to be more for the process and less for the candidate.
Exactly. And I think that if you're going to run for office, you need to understand how the election process works in the state in which you're running and accept that. So if you're like, well, I don't like mail-in ballots, then you don't get a run, because that's how we do it here. So if you don't want to run under this system, don't run. Move. Now, this stuff pisses me off. Kearney writes in, do you guys accept the result of the 2016 election? Do I not say former President Trump? Kearney? Do I not say that? Of course I do. Do I think and Russia rigged it? Putin rigged it? Did I just say that? I said this, and let me repeat myself, that Russia and Putin and associates close to him have admitted that they used misinformation campaigns, and we fell for it. We fell for it. So that's what happened. And it's been admitted, and we've seen it happen. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. But did I not accept the results? He was president. I called him President Trump when he was president, and I still, and it bothers the crap out of me, call him former President Trump. I didn't like him. I didn't like him as my president, but he was. It's not like I sit there and be like, oh, the ballots were switched. I never said any of that nonsense. It's just, we need to be smarter than this. And we need to stop, believing this narrative that if Republicans lose, then cheating went on. No, your candidate or your issue or whatever sucked. It's as simple as that. Convince people better. How about that? Convince people that you're the right candidate. Not that, I lost, so the ballots must have been switched. Give me a break. Vanessa, I love this message. I'm too old to get pregnant, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let the clock stay turned back on women's rights after clinic escorting in the late 80s in college. Exactly. But we might be going back there. Anonymous, we need to ban lobbyists to encourage voting a certain way. If someone wants to run, make them take an equivalent to the Hippocratic Oath in a way that they won't challenge election results. I'll say this about challenging election results. We do have a way for you to double check, right? I mean, we saw it starting in 2000 with Bush and Gore, right? But at a certain point, Al Gore was like, okay, he didn't like it, but he accepted it. And that's the difference. Trump doesn't accept anything. And we're supposed to be the gracious ones. Hillary Clinton went to his damn inauguration. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How many times does the Democratic Party have to be the bigger party? How many times? It just pisses me off. Remember when the internet was going to make us all smarter, Michael chats in? Ugh, not so much. It gives voices to those that typically were voiceless. Yeah. And not only that, it feeds you similar voices so that you think the world thinks like you when you're just out of your mind crazy. Marcus, the GOP is like Bill Belichick, always entitled to win like no one else matters. I love the Patriots hate. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Harry, after 2016, Clinton admitted defeat and called Trump. Has Trump ever? No. And he never will. Remember how hard it was for him to make that recording after January 6th? I don't want to say that I lost the election. Because then his grift would end. He's a con artist. And I'm so angry at the people I know that continue to fall for it. They're smarter than this. They are. They are smarter than this, but for some reason, they just can't. Jorge, don't get Nikki mad. You wouldn't like her when she's mad. Isn't that the truth? Nikki's so eloquent when she's mad. I want to be like Nikki.
It's
yeah.
True.
I try not to be mad. But I get angry because I know we're better than this. We are. And I feel like there's more people like us out there. But, like people like Carrie Lake, she's full of crap and she knows it. You look at people like that and you see a person that cares more for their political aspirations than this country. They're full of crap. And they know it. You could see it on their face. Just like Trump, he knows. He knows that he's full of it. He doesn't care. Grifter in chief. I like it, Harry. I like it. That's going to be his new nickname. John, the Republican Party is ever shrinking. Eventually, they'll have to stop crying fraud and modify their political platform. Exactly. Have better ideas and solutions. And John Rothman was on Mark Thompson earlier and was talking about how, it's sad that there's not more of a Republican presence in California because he firmly believes in the two-party system. And I say two-party at least. And I agree with him. I would be more optimistic about a two-party system if we had two parties. But what we have Democrats, and then we have people that fall in line with Trump, even when they know they're spewing lies. So the Republican Party needs to have a come to Jesus or whatever moment and figure out who are you as a party? What do you stand for? Because I don't know what it is anymore. I really don't. They just, I mean, they overturned Roe v. Wade. I don't know what's next. Gay marriage, everything. It's just
Well,
absolutely frightening.
I
It's
don't want to
absolutely frightening.
believe that today is the day democracy dies. I don't want to
I don't
believe it.
either. I
Mm-mm.
really don't. In California, we do have this new law that allows a new voter to cast a ballot that is counted after eligibility is determined during the 30-day vote counting period after the election. So if today you are talking to a family member in California or a friend, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't register to vote. I can't vote today." Grab their arm. You could take them to a polling place and they can get a conditional voter registration. Now, it's going to take 30 days for their ballot to be counted, but this actual process started in last year's statewide election. But registration then was only available in county election offices. Starting next year, voters can register on election day anywhere where ballots are cast. So, if you're going to start screaming, "Oh, see, this is how fraud happens." One, it's not counted until after, right? The 30 days. So there's going to be time to make sure this person's eligible and it's not a duplicate. And anyone can do it. It's not just Democrats. It's Republicans, Independents, Green Party. All of you guys can do it. That's democracy at work. That is making sure that you have a voice in how this country is being run. All right, let's go. We have some time. Let's go over already some of the nonsense out there. Okay. So there's been a post that shared more than 140,000 times on Facebook. This is what I'm talking about, social media. It alleges that voters could use ballot applications mailed to previous tenants to receive and submit more than one ballot. Now, this was making the rounds in the 2020 election, and it's making its rounds once again. And it's not true. There are ways in which these things are counted. Once you send one in, if you try to, it's against the law, right? But there are safeguards in place. You would have to, the things that you would have to do in order to have a ballot counted more than once. I mean, you would have to have the signature, the address. So many things would have to line up for it to actually be counted again. And so we have to just continue to push back against this.
Don't you think that it's hard enough to get people to vote once?
Right? Exactly.
I mean, really? We're going to worry about, no. And, they've done big deep dive to election fraud, and they've found that the sprinkling of people that commit election fraud don't even really affect the outcome of the election. That's how
exactly
how infrequently it happens.
Well, and again, if it's caught, then the system worked, right? I mean, that's the point. It's like when, there was a report of this happening. Well, you heard about it, didn't you? They caught the person, right? You're not going to stop people from trying. It's just like speeding, right? I mean, people can speed, and then they're going to get caught sometimes. It's not exactly the same. It's easier to speed than to commit election or voter fraud. Some California celebrities are making their choices known this election day in the LA mayor's race, of course, down in LA where a lot of celebrities are. Here's Common throwing his support behind Karen Bass for mayor. It's Bass against Caruso, I believe. Here's another one. This is Tiffany Haddish. She's voting. She's like, "Don't be trash." Let's add this one. And then we have Caruso seems to have some endorsements with, I'm not going to say the celebrities are rich, but Kim Kardashian. Now, this was back in May. She endorsed Rick Caruso for mayor. And then we have Chris Pratt. And Chris Pratt also has been endorsing Caruso. This is what he wrote. He wrote, "I've lived in LA for over 20 years. It's been great to me. In that time, I've seen what many residents here have seen. The city's gradual decline into pain and utter disarray. If you live here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't normally support political candidates. That doesn't make any sense. But in this election, there's too much to lose. If you're an LA voter, I urge you to vote Rick Caruso. He's a builder. He knows how to get S done. He's the guy for our city, Rick Caruso for LA mayor." That's going to be interesting, race to watch. LA is obviously huge and does have a lot of problems we've seen here in the Bay Area. But we know of Karen Bass. I don't know much about Rick Caruso, but I do know this race is neck and neck. So we shall see. Snoop Dogg went with Caruso. Gwyneth Paltrow. Elon Musk is a Caruso fan. Steven Spielberg, Samuel L. Jackson. I believe they're going for Karen Bass. You think celebrity endorsements really matter? I mean,
here's what would shock me, but I don't know if it would matter. If I lived in Philadelphia, South Philly, supermodel Paulina Poroskova took up a second job canvassing with her 2 sons. They were going door to door. So if you have a celebrity knock on your door and say, "Hey, would you vote for, candidate X?" I don't know if I would vote for that candidate, but I'd be like, "Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool," right? Yeah, exactly.
You open the door and there's Paulina.
Right. I mean, I guess in LA, though, they probably used to celebrities, maybe not so much in Philadelphia or wherever. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the attack on her husband will affect her decision on whether to remain in the Democratic leadership in Congress. Now, she did not say, and this was during a CNN interview, whether she would leave or stay in the leadership. What would you do, Kim? I mean, if you were in power and it's a huge position, House Speaker, but your husband is almost murdered in your house, would you stay in the job?
So you don't want to let the bad guys, but on the other hand, I think if you're Nancy Pelosi and you see the number of threats coming in at you and you have your 82-year-old husband attacked,
and you're 82. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, even more than your own safety, you have to think, if they attacked my husband, are my children, my grown children at risk? Are my grandchildren at risk? Is the rest of my entire family at risk? Because these are the kind of people that obviously will come out and hurt my family. I think you have to think about it, but I hate that she could make a decision here that would allow that type of bully behavior, that type of violent attackers, that those people would then win.
Yeah. And I see what you're saying, because if she doesn't, then they win. Although, I mean, she's not necessarily saying that she's going to give up the speakership early. I mean, she could become minority. And then, if we lose control of the House, obviously. She is 82. And she has been making promises to younger people in Congress, like saying, if you put me in this time, I'm not going to run again, or I'm not going to seek it again. So there's already been the groundwork for her to not be the speaker moving forward. But is your work for the country more important than the safety of your family? And I think that's the question that she's really having to wrestle with, is on one, what you just said, Kim, if I give it up, then they won, and who's going to replace me? Because, say what you will, like her or not, Nancy Pelosi is a strong force in Washington. I mean, her decades of service, getting things done, getting things passed. You don't want to go up against her. She has quite the track record. And that's why people don't like her if you're on the opposite side of the aisle.
Well, she's been there for so long. And some people say, well, she's been there too long.
Right.
But others say that she's been there so long that she knows how the system works. She knows how to get people in line, and she knows where the bodies are buried. So you don't go up against Nancy. So if she does step down, if she isn't in Congress anymore, that's a massive drain on her knowledge, and for the Democratic Party. We're going to have to kind of start from scratch, because that's going to be a big loss. But I would completely understand that she needs to put the safety of her family first. That shouldn't be the way it is, though. God, that makes me mad.
It does. I mean, come on, people. Politics used to be boring. I mean, no one cared about, and I'm not saying we shouldn't care about our election systems and things like that, but election day, we were more concerned about getting people out to vote. Right. And now it's like every little piece of paper and person standing near the ballot box is this news story. Well, we have to preserve our way of voting and electing people. Howard Stern, I can't play you the sound because he was dropping F-bombs because he's on Sirius. But he says there is no greater issue in today's election than saving democracy. He said, I love this country. I love what it stands for. I know the history of the world. I've seen what happens when people who are authoritarians, who want to control the vote, fix the vote, and then eventually eliminate the vote. I know what that means, and I know what kind of society you would be in. I would love to tell people out there who think that's not a big issue. The sad fact is you've never lived under an authoritarian regime. I was listening to one news analysis, and they were saying the damage being done with the election conspiracies, it could last generations. You could be undermining people's belief in our elections for generations. And I already see it. My son makes jokes about it. I don't think he fully grasps it. But I'm like, does Fortnite or whatever the heck you're on talk about elections? But they're even at 11, 12, 13 aware of what is going on. And yeah, saving our democracy, preserving our democracy, there is nothing more important because everything is built on that. This great experiment of the United States of America is built on this. And yes, it's been messy and bloody. And so maybe this generation we're living in is not that much different. It's just our own spin on the clashes we've had throughout our history. But we're living in this and it feels different. And it feels like if we don't get it together, we can't go back. And I am scared. I agree with Howard Stern. I think that we need to do something about it. But the top issue for most voters is not saving our democracy. It is inflation. And I get it. More than 1 in 3 voters cited inflation as their most pressing priority. This according to the latest NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll. Preserving democracy was a distant second. Republicans were seen as better than Democrats at tackling inflation by a wide margin. I don't know why. Why? Why would Republicans be better at tackling inflation? They have not. And again, I keep going. I need to find the website at the next break. If you look at what our GDP was doing under a Democratic administration versus a Republican, hands down, Democrats do better. Now, inflation, there's inflation around the globe. It aggravates me that Republicans are seen as, we're better with handling money. No, they're not. They've just sold you that line of BS. The election comes as consumer prices climbing at the near fastest pace in 4 decades. Annual inflation in September, 8.2%, down only slightly from 9% in June. And then on Thursday, the next consumer price index is set to be released. I understand that pocketbook wallet issues are important. It's something that you deal with every single day. It's something that we have to deal with because of what we needed to do to respond to COVID, in all honesty. Supply chain issues, was the economic relief packages that both Trump and Biden released too much? Okay, but that's Monday morning quarterbacking. We had people unemployed, not knowing where their next paycheck was going to come. We knew this was going to happen. Could the Fed have made different moves perhaps earlier? Again, can't change any of that. But there are people that are trying to help fight inflation. A number of grocery store chains are not raising their prices, even though most grocery items are more expensive. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, restaurant food prices have increased up to 8.5%. Grocery store prices jumped 13%. Turkeys, and we see this every year. I don't even care. Always the price is going up about $6 compared to a year ago. But Aldi, I don't know if we have that here in the Bay Area, slashing their prices, making Thanksgiving more affordable. The supermarket chain announced it is going to match 2019 prices on certain Thanksgiving-related items. Walmart, I don't shop at Walmart, but if you do, they are going to be adjusting their prices as well based on 2021 prices. They said saving money is a top priority for our customers right now, so we're removing inflation on an entire basket containing traditional Thanksgiving items. I mean, if you could do it, then just do it permanently, but okay. Among the items you could save on: turkey, ham, potatoes, stuffing. They're currently rolling out the prices, Walmart says, and you should be able to save through December 26th. I just, inflation was always expected with COVID. Inflation is not something that is simply a U.S. problem. And yet the Republicans want to frame it that way. It's just not. It's just not. All right, we're going to take a quick break for news, and then we come back. We're going to talk a bit about layoffs. Twitter did mass layoffs, which was really, they did it in such a harsh way. But Meta has some layoffs planned as well. And then, of course, I have to weigh in on the sexiest man alive. I mean, he's right there. We all know who he is. Hello. But it's not this year. He has been. Matthew McConaughey was sexiest man alive. So we'll weigh in on that. You tell me if you think this year's sexiest man alive actually is. But first, some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
On the Nikki Medoro Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. We are hours away from some polls closing in the midterm elections today. Florida, Georgia, Indiana, and Kentucky will mark the first big set of results for the night. Voters set to decide who controls the House and the Senate for the next 2 years. Voting issues popping up across the country on this election day. In Arizona, a few dozen voting centers in the state's largest county are having issues with machines counting ballots. In Pennsylvania, one election official told CNN various issues like incorrect information could lead to some ballots not being counted. Wall Street closing higher as investors await the outcome of the midterm elections, but a crypto sell-off took some of the steam out of the markets today. Top national security officials set to go before Congress next week to talk about worldwide threats to the homeland. The hearing, set for November 15th, will feature testimony from the FBI Director. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas will also be there. Elizabeth Holmes will not get a new trial. Court records show a federal judge denied that motion yesterday. Holmes was found guilty on multiple counts of fraud earlier this year. Her now defunct company, Theranos, claims to have had a breakthrough technology in blood testing. Holmes' defense team asked for a new trial after claiming a witness tried to contact her, saying he regretted his testimony. The witness did participate in another hearing last month. Holmes is set to be sentenced November 18th and could spend up to 20 years behind bars. The water level in Lake Sonoma is at its lowest point in history. Funny to say as the rain falls, but the lake is now at less than 42% of full capacity. Sonoma water officials say the water level has been falling every day since January 21st of this year. On that day, it held more than 152,000 acre-feet of water. Today, it holds a little more than 102,000 acre-feet. There's still enough left in the reservoir to get the region through this winter and into next winter, and that there is not an imminent risk of it running dry. Still, though, they're very concerned that its water level is at the lowest point in the history there for Lake Sonoma. Saks Fifth Avenue teaming up with Elton John's Aid Fund and the nation's Rocket Fund for this year's holiday windows. The iconic department store unveiling the windows in New York City November 22nd. It also includes the debut of this year's light show, which will incorporate Elton John's music. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you are looking for help with your taxes, you can reach Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, or on the web, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. While we are talking about it, hit that thumbs up right now. Hit the thumbs up. Smash it. What did they say? Smash it with your iron rod. Is that
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it. I'm gonna have to find some of our own. I was actually brainstorming with our own smash, like Hulk smash it or something. I'm like, what other smashes do we have out there? Anybody has any ideas? You can send them to me. Speaking of that, a great way to reach out to me, of course, is on email. You can do that, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. Also, the website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, has all the links to our YouTube show. Please share it with your family and friends. They have to be able to find us. There is a counter to the conservative nonsense, and it is right here on the Nikki Medoro Show. And of course, our Patreon is there for those of you who can, of course, donate to keep the lights on and keep this show going Monday through Friday from noon to 2 every single day. Harry with a $10 donation in the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sing John Productions with $5. Miss you on KGO 810. Yeah. Honestly, right now, I'm missing all of you and the phones and everything, but I love that we have this community. Doreen with another $10 super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys are awesome. And so, yes, we will continue to read the super stickers. You will get a shout out every single time you donate to the show. And so keep it up because I want to keep doing this show as well. Doreen also supported Katie. I think you mean Katie Porter. Hope she gets elected again. Absolutely. I had Katie Porter on Station X, and I mean, she's amazing. I really hope. Some of you were mentioning the speakership. Oh, here we go. Vanessa Pacheco. While I love Katie Porter, the speaker leader usually has a quote unquote safe seat so that he or she can focus on the speakership rather than getting reelected. Katie Porter's district is purple, not blue. Very, very true. But she's so damn good. Katie Porter is so good at making her point. That's why Republicans probably fear her so much. Floyd, I smashed everything in my room, smashing that like button. I love it. I love it. Hulk smash. Hey, Kim, get me an iron rod for Christmas. I just whack it.
Yeah. I don't know. Iron rods can be expensive. I might have to go for some type of lesser metal, but we'll get you something.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And, obviously, if we lose the majority, she become the minority speaker or minority leader, I should say, not speaker. And God, is it going to be McCarthy? God, I can't stand that guy. Ugh. It could just be bad people. Let's keep our fingers crossed and our toes and everything else that we have going for us. All right. Let's switch gears just a bit. And again, tomorrow, we'll, the trickling in of election results, we will talk about it. The live chat will be open and we can commiserate and be upset or happy with whatever we know. And then it's going to continue because it's like a season now with the results coming in. But let's talk about job cuts. So first it was Twitter and now Meta. Meta's chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg, said that teams will either stay flat or shrink over the next year. And now it looks like it could happen this week. They are anticipating that some employees will be laid off this week. Job cuts were set to be the most significant at the company since it was founded in 2004. Meta, Facebook, whatever, they've not been doing well. They've been struggling. They've been trying to reduce their costs. So they own, Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger. It spent billions on the metaverse, which anyone out there obsessed with the metaverse? I had a friend, my best friend in Idaho. I think I mentioned this before. She was trying to sell me on buying real estate in the metaverse. So I guess if you get an Oculus or whatever, they give you, I don't know what you even call it because I didn't do it, but they kind of give you property or like an area of land in the metaverse. Of course, it's not the popular area, but then you could buy it. I will not spend real life money in a fake world like that. I'm not going to invest in real estate in the metaverse. That's not going to happen. I'll be really interested to see if something like that catches on. I have my doubts. I hope it goes the way of the NFTs, but
if you can get in early and cheap and it actually becomes something,
that's what everyone's banking on, though.
That's something going.
Scheme. That's a pyramid scheme, right? Get in early and then charge more for it. You're not getting anything. You don't own anything. It's advertising. You're spending money so that you could sell something to people that are in the metaverse. That's all it ever comes down to sell you crap.
Here you go, Nick.
What?
Nick's doing it because,
yes.
he knows you.
NFTs are bull crap. Okay. There was a story not too long ago. And forgive me, I don't have all the details, but it was something like this where you can either buy the NFT or something or the real piece of art, let's just say. And if you wanted the NFT, they destroyed the real piece of art. It's the epitome of stupidity. Okay. You could have something tangible that somebody made, or you can have the receipt for it. What would you do? What would you do? Would you take the receipt for it, or would you take the actual item? I know some of you disagree with me on NFTs. Maybe because you made money on them. It is a friggin' scam. Eric Kennedy, I got an Oculus 2. It's really not all that. I'm assuming you mean like the metaverse. Yeah. I've played it a couple of times, but that's about it. I'm not wasting. And I don't want that to be the reality. How about that? I don't want me sitting in the real world with something on my face and living my life in that world to be the reality. I'm just not going to do that. And I'm not going to support it. What is real estate in the metaverse? It's nothing. It's like Farmville. Didn't somebody put up there? Yeah, it's not like Farmville.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Walnut Creek adult softball. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Really? Don't fall for it. Save your money. Karen writes in, the people who get involved in all of this have way too much time and money. Exactly. You just Anonymous, what if your real estate gets hacked? Do you sue the company hosting the one of many worlds? Imagine a judge taking your case. They would laugh at the audacity to spend that much on nothing. It's nothing. You can't live in this house you create in the metaverse, right? You have to be actually sitting in a real house in the real
in
world.
In order to go to your fake house.
This is the world we're living in. You know what I mean?
So,
it's absolutely
I don't
crazy.
know if the metaverse is like this is kind of how I picture it, right? You go into the metaverse and when you enter, it looks like, you're in a
world.
A menu where you can click on different worlds. So when you click on a world, do you always start at the same point where everyone can see, oh, look, there's Nikki's store. Go into it. Look at what she's selling. Look at all the things you can buy at Nikki's store in the metaverse. And then you make money. So if you have that prime real estate where everyone has to walk by your store when they enter a certain, Bay Area world or whatever it is it valuable in some way? It could be. I don't know.
To sell you crap that you don't actually tangibly have. So you come into my metaverse store and buy a metaverse carrot and you're still freaking hungry in the real world. It's nonsense. It's just a way to separate you from real money. That is it. It's just like Bitcoin. What do you change your Bitcoin into? Everyone tell me. Everyone say it out loud. Money, dollars. Why? Because dollars are what makes the world go round. It's
Karen writes, isn't it better to live in reality? Well, after everything we've discussed today with people denying elections and democracy at risk, maybe taking a checkout isn't a bad idea.
No, I'd much rather argue with real life people than go into the metaverse and probably like get gang raped by a bunch of avatars, which is also what's happening. That's what's happening. Really? Oh my God. There were so many lawsuits when the metaverse was coming out that they created a bubble, right? Where your avatar can stay in the bubble and be protected, because what is the first thing that some avatars do to other avatars in the metaverse is assault them, because that is just the internet for you. And that's all it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. But, yeah, let's see. Nick writes in, when they figure out how to upload our consciousness to the cloud, then I will consider purchasing virtual real estate. When they're able to do that, I'm out. Like, I'm just like, I'm going to go find some land with, live off the grid. I'm not doing any of that nonsense. I'm sorry. It's way too much. But speaking of Twitter and layoffs and everything like that, I saw this article about something called quiet firing. So remember, we had the whole debate about quiet quitting or work your wage is what I liked to call it at Station X.
And what did I say? Work. Work ethic.
And look at both of us. Kim McAllister. Yeah. Didn't work out for either of us, apparently.
No, I didn't. No.
But look at this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen because there is this Twitter worker who went viral. Oh, wait, I have it. Never mind. I'm going to show it to you a better way because I have the actual picture downloaded, I believe. Yeah, here we go. So look at this. Look at this worker. Okay. She was sleeping on Twitter's floor. She was a Twitter manager. She went viral for sleeping at the headquarters. Her name is Esther Crawford. Musk had said before the mass layoffs that he works 120 hours a week and has slept on the factory floor in the past. And so she was doing it. She was working around the clock. Apparently, well, out of all of the layoffs that were done, she did end up keeping her job. So
Oh,
Esther
look at
Crawford,
Esther.
Esther, I wouldn't want to
All,
work at Twitter after all of that.
all you have to do is stay there 24/7 and sleep on a hard floor in your little space sleeping bag.
Yeah,
That's all you have to do?
that's all you have to do.
No,
She wrote,
thank you.
she
What
tweeted
kind of
out the
life is
new,
that?
exactly. She tweets out the new blue isn't live yet. I guess that's Twitter's thing. The sprint to our launch continues, but some folks may see us making updates because we're testing and pushing changes in real time. The Twitter team is legendary. New blue coming soon. And then she retweets this whole $8 a month Twitter blue thing. And no one's going to pay for Twitter. No
Oh,
one's going to pay for Twitter. I will not pay for Twitter.
Esther's doing whatever Esther can to keep Esther's.
Yeah, no, she's doing the virtual and the literal sleeping on the floor of the company, thinking it's going to pay off for her in the end. And at least with these layoffs, it did. No
She's
freaking
doing
way
the
am I sleeping
virtual
on the floor.
she's doing the virtual and the literal ass kissing, right?
Yeah,
What
no,
I mean, she
that's not
sounds like kind of
happening.
a suck up.
Yeah, and like, look at me. I'm going to sleep on the in a silver sleeping bag. Let's look at that picture again. That's not happening. That is not happening for me. What am I I mean, I don't know how much she makes. Maybe she makes a buttload of money. And she's like, I need to keep this job no matter what. Or maybe she doesn't make a buttload of money. And she's sitting there, silver sleeping bag on the floor. At least she's smart enough to have an eye mask. Hopefully she has some earplugs in as well. But I've never and would never sleep on the floor of a company. I do
Or
not
m
care.
or maybe it was staged and all the employees that took the picture
Oh,
were standing around her chuckling and laughing. Ha ha ha! He wants us to sleep on the floor.
maybe,
Yeah, maybe.
maybe. I mean, still though, I wouldn't even want anybody to take my picture of me doing that at all. Karen D writes in, Musk bought the company so he can sell off pieces of the technology. He's going to cut it up like a pie. Watch and see. Maybe. I mean, Twitter wasn't profitable and he overspent on it. Eric Kennedy can't get fired from home if you're never home. That's
Yeah,
very
they can't
true.
lock you out, and if you're sleeping on the floor, you're in.
There you go. That's very, very true. All right, we have about 10 minutes left, so let's do some celebrity trash.
It's time to
Take out that damn trash.
Celebrity News and Trash
Oh, I love trash.
with Nikki Medoro.
It's the trash. It's the sweet, sweet trash.
All right, all right. So People has come out with its 2022 Sexiest Man Alive. Now, we all know who I think the sexiest man alive is, after my husband, of course. And it is this gentleman right here, Matthew McConaughey, who was, I don't remember what year he was, but he was one of the sexiest men alive. But no, it's this guy, Chris Evans. What do you think, Kim? You like Chris Evans? You think he's like the sexiest man alive? What?
I have to look at a picture.
All right, here you go. Here you go.
You're gonna get. Oh, nah.
No,
All right. I mean, he's a nice looking fella.
he's
Sexiest man
okay.
alive.
You
Mm.
know who? What was his name? Bradley
Sorry, Chris
Cooper.
Evans.
I know. Bradley Cooper was named the sexiest man alive several years ago. And I was like, no way. And then after they name him that, I was like, he's not too bad. I do think that he's attractive. I mean, there's no knocking it. He seems really nice, which makes him sexy. I think
Yeah.
nice guys, with also a cute face, obviously, but nice guys, it just makes you more attractive. You do know the whole X-rated mishap he had, right? I told you about this, didn't I?
No.
Where he accidentally, I'm gonna put this in quotes because I don't know how you do this. He accidentally shared, or I don't know. It ended up on his social media feed, a picture of his member, and yeah, I guess he was like watching TV, and there was a picture with the TV in the background, and he was he was standing at attention, and like it went out to all of his social media followers.
So it was an accident?
That's what he said. I think like, who really does stuff like that? But he seems really nice, and he's Captain America. He has those like charming, boyish looks. You know what I mean? So he's kind of cute. I mean, if I wasn't married, I wouldn't turn him away. That's for sure. But
I wouldn't kick him out.
Wouldn't kick him out of the bed or anything like that. Sexiest Man Alive, though. That's such a.
He is pretty good looking. I gotta say, he is pretty good looking.
See, he is. And he seems, again, he just seems really, really nice. I don't know how People Magazine decides who's the sexiest man alive. Al Anonymous, you're absolutely correct. Last year they had Paul Rudd. His personality is awesome, but sexiest? Nah, fam.
Yeah, no.
I think Paul Rudd just doesn't age. I mean, that guy, I don't know if he has like a fountain of youth in the backyard or what, but I think he's cute. Same as Chris. I mean, Chris Evans is kind of cute.
How do you do this photo shoot without just not laughing at yourself?
And being like, I know I'm handsome. But I think when you're a celebrity and so much is based on your appearance, they're just like, act sexy. And you probably
let me lean against this pole in the middle of a field and flip up my collar and give you the smoldering look.
Karen Cooper, how shallow is all this? Like beauty contests in the past? I agree. I mean, it is kind of shallow, but Chris Evans is okay. Probably on par with Bradley Cooper, who I mentioned. More of a participation trophy for doing a bunch of movies. I mean, he is attractive. I mean, I don't think you can really argue that he's not attractive. I mean, he's attractive. He's an attractive guy. Now,
he's hello.
Is he a Matthew McConaughey? No, he's not a Matthew McConaughey in my book, but I have a soft spot for Matthew McConaughey. So I don't think anybody's going to be able to talk me out of it. But speaking of my favorite, Matthew McConaughey could be joining Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z to buy the Washington Commanders NFL team.
Oh.
So apparently Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos were seen recently in LA having dinner. They were apparently talking about buying the Washington Commanders because Dan Snyder is an idiot and has been just caught up in so much controversy. And so they're apparently, or Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Commanders, seeking $7 billion in order to sell the NFL team. And Matthew McConaughey, of course, has his own amount of money, is in talks to join Bezos and Jay-Z on that bid. I feel like buying sports teams is the new investment. I didn't know this, but Matthew McConaughey also has an MLS team. He's the co-owner of MLS's Austin FC franchise. And then Ryan Reynolds, remember, he went in, he co-owns a soccer
team in Europe, England.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, it seems to be buying a sports team is the hot new commodity. And that's, if you have the money, why not? It seems to be a never ending pool of money if you can buy the right team, of course, and bring people in. How obsessed with you, Kim McAllister, were you with the Casey Anthony murder case?
Not very.
She was the one that killed her daughter.
Is that the one? Was she in Florida?
Yeah, she was the one accused of killing her daughter. And it was like her daughter was missing and she was making all these excuses. And then the grandmother was like, where's the child? And I mean,
I was glad to see that she was convicted, but I don't think.
No, she was found not guilty.
Oh, I thought she went to prison.
No, she was found not guilty. Casey Anthony did.
Bad memory. How long ago was it? Years?
Let me make sure that I'm correct, but I was positive that she was let off for that. She was charged with first-degree murder, but it was a not guilty murder verdict. Met with public outrage. Some complained the jury misunderstood the meaning of reasonable doubt, while others said the prosecution relied too heavily on the defendant's alleged poor moral character. Yeah, she was found not guilty. Prosecution sought the death penalty. But yeah, she was found not guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, but guilty of 4 misdemeanor counts. And with credit for time served, she was released not that long after. So anyways, the reason I'm bringing this up is Peacock. Remember Peacock? I was talking about that, a friend of the family show that I've been watching, the miniseries. They're going to be doing a show. It's a 3-part limited series, premieres later this month on November 29th. It's called Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies. And some people are upset because obviously they believe that she murdered her daughter. But I was just promoting the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, right? I mean, he murdered all kinds of people and ate them. So is it just because it's newer? It's a newer case? Or is it Dahmer was found guilty? Casey Anthony was not. So, I mean, I'm probably going to watch it. I was kind of obsessed with the whole case. Absolutely. It was one of those cases where it angered you. I mean, the images, it reminds me a little bit, although it's obviously not the same type of thing, of Scott Peterson. Remember Scott Peterson flirting with his, mistress or whatever. If you were really in mourning, why are you doing all these things? Casey Anthony partying, dancing on the tables, and your daughter's missing. The cutest kid too. It's just, So yeah, that 3-part series is going to be coming out later this month, and I'm definitely going to watch it. All right, hit that thumbs up one more time, and I do want to say some thank yous. Andreas, with another $20. You were awesome, awesome, awesome. We have a $9.99 super sticker from Zooey Mama. I love it. I love it. I love it. Albert, $1.99 Hulk smash. Yes, smash that thumbs up. I might get AI mad. I'll press it. I think a Hulk smash is pretty funny. I could probably get away with it if it's just a quick little clip. But maybe I'll get a bunch of you to send me in smash sound bites. You can send that to me. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. That is the best way of reaching us. Andreas also says, where are your lottery tickets? I have the one from us, Kim, in my car. I have to check it again. I know we were not in Altadena, so we were definitely not the winner there. But maybe we won some. We can keep it going. I'd love that. That'd be awesome. Thank you to everybody again. Get out and vote. Your voice needs to be heard. They do not spend this much money on elections if your vote did not matter. Tomorrow, Emily Hoven with Cal Matters will join us. We'll go over whatever results are in, and we'll see where we go from here. But until tomorrow, see you then.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.